In this video, we'll look at the Connections tab within Creator and make connections between a variety of devices in our SAVI project. I'll be using SAVI version 3.5, but these principles will apply to all versions of Creator. Before making the connections, you'll need to have all necessary devices added to your Creator project. For help adding equipment, check our related training video, which is linked in the description below. Before we make the first connection, we'll take a look at the Connections tab itself. The overall functionality of this UI is similar to the Equipment tab, but new devices can't be added or deleted from here. You can scroll through the main column to see all of your equipment and locate the device you want to connect by looking through the collapsible locations and device types, but it's much faster to use the search field. For my first example, I'll be connecting one of my sources to one of my STREAM.Ones. I'll be making the connection from the STREAM.One itself, but know that in most cases you can make the connection from either side. As you can see, there's only one field in the Inputs tab. For this dropdown, we want to choose whichever source is physically plugged into the HDMI input on the back of the STREAM.One. Since I know this STREAM.One has DirecTV 1 plugged into it, I'll choose that source and hit save. Now, if I pull up the DirecTV box itself, you can see the STREAM.One is listed under Outputs due to the connection I just made. With this done, DirecTV 1 will now show up in Facility View under the list of available sources and can be selected for any Canvas display in the project. Next, we'll look at making connections to displays. For our example, we have two adjacent event rooms, A and B, which each have a desk HDMI port and an HDMI wall plate. These all lead to an HDMI matrix, which in turn sends HDMI directly to each event display, allowing any of the HDMI sources to be shown on all event displays. To set this up in Creator, I'll open my PureLink HDMI matrix and select the inputs according to the order they're plugged in on the back of the device. Now for the outputs, I'll choose the respective HDMI input for each of the 4 event displays. It's important to remember we're making this logical connection for our displays because the HDMIs are physically connected to the displays. For network-based sources, such as content from a STREAM.One, no specific connection needs to be made to our displays in the Connections tab, since network sources are automatically available for any Canvas display on the network. The process of linking Canvas displays through the Canvas Edit page is covered in another video, listed in the description below. For the next example, I'll be making connections for a non-Canvas display using the Canvas Decoder Driver, which works well with all versions of LG's WP400 and 600 series. I'll be connecting both HDMI and serial connections from the decoder to a custom serial display. Keep in mind that custom drivers, such as a serial display, need to be manually created from the Equipment tab using the Create Custom Driver button, which I've already done for this project, as well as adding an instance of it for this example. To make the connections, I'll pull up the decoder, and under Outputs, I'll connect both the serial connection as well as the HDMI into my serial display. One last connection type we'll look at is our audio zones. Audio zones are what we use to set volume and switch sources per zone of speakers. With this in mind, we'll need a DSP to allow for this control. SAVI supports many different DSPs, and while the details are unique per brand, the connections generally work the same way, and we can make all the connections at the DSP. Here's an example of an Atlas IED device. On the input side, we'll select each source in the order that's physically connected to the DSP, and on the output side, we'll connect each audio zone based on which output is feeding that area of speakers. The SAVI DSP-One has a unique connections card that allows for making configuration changes as well as connecting sources and zones. This still follows the same process as before. Sources need connections to inputs, and audio zones need connections to outputs. However, here we need to connect the audio zone driver to the appropriate zone. From there, each zone needs output selected in order to send that zone's audio out to an amp. Each zone can have any number of outputs selected, but needs at least one in order to work. You should be ready to start making connections in Creator. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more SAVI training videos.